As college students across the country navigate a school year unlike any other in the face of COVID-19, many are also organizing to fight for racial and social justice reform at their schools. At UMass Amherst, students have formed a racial justice coalition to address steps they say the university can take to be a more inclusive and anti-racist campus. Connecting Point's Ross Lippman spoke with one of its founders, Steward, about the steps the coalition hopes UMass will take. Steward, a junior majoring in African American and legal studies, starts by explaining how the group was formed.
Yes, it came about, I believe, it was about 4 days after the murder of George Floyd. So I kind of wanted to just be able to, kind of put my thoughts into something that would allow me to be able to do something instead of just constantly feeling as though I was sitting on the sidelines and just not, and I wanted to just get involved somehow. So yeah, it started mainly as a Google Doc that I now refer to as an info dump, where it, where I added, individuals and organizations at the university that I knew, and then they added people that they knew to work on this document and to have it be separated into, I'll call it, two distinct forms. The first would be, like, the first half of it was mainly actions that individuals that we could take whenever we, either virtually or, whenever we are able to go back to campus, or both. And then demands that the university that we could bring to the university leadership and ensure that they were listening to us and ensure that, our voices were being taken into account and being heard. So,
and ultimately that was a 17-page long document, right?
That original document was, I believe, about 17 pages, yes.
So that's a lot of information in a document. Was your feeling that UMass had a long way to go to becoming a more inclusive and anti-racist campus?
Yes, definitely. And I think based off of, the experiences that I had my freshman year with, there were a rash of hate crimes on campus, and the university's response, or really the lack thereof, kind of showed itself, and it, that also kind of informed this document, and it's been informing my work ever since. Kind of just building off of what happened then, and the work that I was involved with then, and just trying to kind of center that, but also bring it into the present context, given the state-sanctioned violence against Black and brown individuals across the country.
You've been having conversations as an organization, the Racial Justice Coalition, with the leadership at UMass. What have those conversations been like so far?
It's definitely a mix, I would say. There are individuals among the administration that are willing to work with us and are willing to work with us on these demands and ensure that they get implemented, and ensure that, Black, Indigenous people of color, whether they be students, faculty, staff, what have you, whether they, not even whether that they feel comfortable, that they are safe and secure on campus, and that the work that we are doing isn't just for us, but for future generations of BIPOC that will eventually be coming to UMass and will need to find those safe spaces for themselves. But there are also those who apparently are afraid to talk to students because apparently they just haven't been challenged in this way before. At least uh, this is what I've been told, and so I can't speak for those administrators, but from what I've been told, it's that they feel as though we students are, I don't know if I want to say encroaching, but that we that that they're afraid. At least I think the direct quote was, they're as afraid of you as you may be of them. And I'm like, how is that even possible? If you if you're afraid of students, then why are you in higher education in the first place? So it doesn't make any sense to me, but it's unfortunate that we have those individuals who feel that way and feel as though they can't necessarily work with students. So we do our best to, we're doing our best right now to work with them, and if we have to work around them, we will. So
College campuses, of course, have a real long and rich history of student activism over the years. You can go back to the civil rights era or the protests against the Vietnam War. Those are some of the images that we think of when we look back on the history of student activism. And for you specifically, Zach, as an African American studies major, how do you look back on instances of activism on college campuses in order to do what you were describing, bridging that gap between making those who may be uncomfortable to have these conversations in a better place to start doing the dialogue with you and your fellow students in this organization?
yeah, what I would say to that is, when we first started this work, we found that there were demands, going as far back as 1970. So, this is kind of this is us picking up the torch, so to speak, 50 years after this work was already started. So I think it's one of those things where these demands definitely aren't anything new. They are just what I like to call them the 2020 revamped version, and they reflect the needs and desires of current students while also doing our best to honor the work of past students in order to ensure that future students are able to, like I said earlier, are able to just come to UMass, and again, not just students but faculty and staff and even some administrators as well, are able to come to UMass and just be themselves without that fear of persecution, without that fear of judgment, without that fear of, you know, constantly feeling like as though they have to prove themselves just because they aren't white.